The Super Speedway Podcast is a Dream Bigger media production. For news, photos, show notes, and information about advertising on the podcast, visit www.thesuperspeedway.com.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Super Speedway.
Welcome to episode 82 of the Super Speedway Podcast, recorded Wednesday, October 10th, 2018. I'm your host, Eric Young. I'm joined by my co-host, James Cush. James, we went back to the original intro this week. I couldn't find an audio clip to pull for this thing.
I don't know if that says anything about the type of racing that was being had on Sunday.
Right.
But I tell you what, though, I'm really glad. Days like today make me happy that we switched from Tuesday recordings to Wednesday.
I know, right? Because everybody records on Tuesday, so now nobody's podcasts have the big news of the week in them.
And we are bringing it to you as hot off the press, as they say.
There you go. It's going to be in the show title, although I come up with a show title after we record this. But just so you know, if you're joining us and you want to know about our thoughts on the Chad Knaus, Jimmie Johnson split up, it's coming up. You'll have to deal with us through the talk of the Dover race, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, we got to
quick,
recap first.
Yeah. So let's get right into it, James. It was the 2018 Gander Outdoors 400 at Dover Raceway. I don't remember what the heck the name of this place is. Anyway.
Dover International Raceway?
Something. It's Dover.
That place with a dirt track gravel thing in the middle.
Right.
And concrete on the outside. And
a monster that was finally tamed by Chase Elliott, who gets redemption.
Ah, great one.
Chase Elliott gets the win. I don't know if he lucked into it so much because he was there, obviously, to get it done. But some other guys had some trouble, and Chase manages to capitalize and get himself his second Monster Energy Cup Series win. And had some gas in the tank at the end to do with a little burnout at the end, too. So,
yeah, he had plenty of gas in the tank, I'd say.
Yeah, good day for Chase. Not a good day for Jimmie Johnson, though. He was my pick, James. He didn't even take the green flag.
No, he was my A driver in fantasy.
Oh God,
that was just unbelievable.
Did they say what it was? I thought I heard a lower ball joint. Was that what it was that broke?
I believe that's what it was. It had something to do with the I don't even know.
That's also the same thing that put Clint Boyer in the wall. If that's the case.
Yeah,
I didn't.
I can't recall that ever happening before.
I've seen Jimmie Johnson get damage on the pace lap because Mark Martin took him, or Jimmie took Mark out at Talladega. Remember that when the steering locked?
Oh yeah, yep.
And
I do remember that now.
So there was that, and we've seen people. I think it was Shauna Robinson famously spun out, or who was it? Was it Shauna Robinson or Patty Weiss?
The pace car spun out at the Roval, not during the race, but I thought that was kind of an interesting one.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, they was doing pace laps before practice at the Roval, and the pace car ended up sliding through I think I was on the other side of the pit wall or something.
Nice.
So we've had some interesting pre-race shenanigans going on. But yeah, that was
IndyCar wrecked the pace car at Detroit this year. So it happens. Things happen.
Yeah, you were there for that one.
Yeah. So yeah, Jimmie has trouble. Comes out basically went 10, 11 laps down at the beginning because of it. Which impressive that they were able to fix it that quick. But kind of put a big exclamation point on the end of that day for Jimmie before the race even got started, and I was bumming him. My pick was done.
Yeah, my fantasy team took a really big blow, and he only he got up to 36, so he gained a couple of spots.
Right.
But it took him a long time to do it.
So basically, this was the Kevin Harvick 300 or so. Kevin Harvick pretty much put on a show, and had it not have been for the last stage of the race, which I will say, for the people that don't like the stage racing, go look at the races this season and compare stages 1 and 2 to stage 3 and look at the excitement we've had in stage 3. And yes, all races will ramp up toward the end and get more exciting toward the end, but things really pick up from the green flag at the start of stage 3 anymore. And it wasn't quite like that at Dover. We had the late caution because of Ross Chastain losing his axle, which really made the ending exciting. And the ending, I think, made up for what was pretty much a snoozer of a race. Kevin Harvick led 286 laps and pretty much was killing it.
He was flying.
Yeah, it was Harvick's race to win. Has trouble on pit road. They broke a valve stem off, and that put him in the back, and he had to fight his way back through. Got to 6th place for the finish. But that put old Eric Almirola in the hot seat, and it looked like Almirola was going to be able to pull one away.
Yeah,
and...
he and Clint Boyer kind of screwed up his day again.
I was going to say, and Clint Boyer happened.
Yeah, I know. That's the second time though Almirola's had the car to beat at the end or near the end of a race, and been foisted by his teammate.
Almirola, to me, feels like he's got Denny Hamlin syndrome. That he can't seem to pull it out when he needs to. You know, he's there, he's running well, and then when it needs to happen, it doesn't. And I mean, we're basing this off of a season for Almirola. He's got a win in the Cup Series previously in a car that shouldn't have won, and now he's finally in good equipment, and he's proven himself. He's done really well. I don't want to hate on Eric Almirola at all. He's done a great job this year. That wreck was all him. I mean, he just overdrove it, bounced off the wall, and took Keselowski out. But he'll get one. I mean, it's coming, and I think it's going to come really soon. It might come this year yet. So
yeah, he's done so much more this year than he's done in his career and that car. I think the two of them have elevated each other, the team and the driver, which is good to see. That's something, you know, sometimes when drivers change teams, it's a lateral move,
right?
You know,
well, we thought it was going to be. I mean, you and I both predicted that this was going to be basically putting Danica Patrick back in the car.
Yeah, and he's definitely done. You know, he hasn't won a race yet, but he's done enough. I mean, he's in the top 12 here in the playoffs, and he's had a great season overall.
It'd be a really successful season, and I think there'd be a lot less to look down upon with this season for him if he wasn't driving for Stuart Haas, where everybody has a win but him, and it makes the fact that he doesn't stand out a little bit more.
Yeah, it's by far his best year. I guess you would say was the year he won the rained out race in 2014, and he's already almost doubled his top 10 total from that season. So,
right. I mean, I don't know the stats. I don't have the stats in front of me.
Yeah,
but I feel like he's had a better season than Kurt Busch has.
He's averaging a 13.9 finish. I don't know if he's had a better year than Kurt. I can look that up really quick though. Thank God for Racing Reference.
To me, I feel like Almirola's been a factor more than Kurt has, even though Kurt has the win.
That might be true. Let me double check here.
So,
I don't know. Kurt's been pretty darn consistent.
That's true.
Kurt's got the win, and he's got quite a few more top 10s.
Okay.
Average finish is a little bit better, but if we look at, I mean, it's a tick better.
Okay.
But yeah, they're fairly similar. I'd say they're fairly similar.
All
but
right.
yeah, just a tick better though. But yeah, that's pretty good comparison.
So we had the first round or the first race in the second round of the playoffs. And we had some playoff implications here. First of all, playoff drivers having trouble. Kyle Busch kind of kicked it off for everybody with the tire issues, basically just wore out the tires at the beginning. Not really a big deal, just had him pit early and kind of everybody followed him in. So not really a big issue there. Then Harvick had the flat tire because of the valve stem. And I can't remember what happened to Kyle Busch to put him in the back at the same time. Did he speed or what did he do? Something happened.
I think he had a penalty. I'm looking at the stats.
I know there's a penalty for something. I don't know if it was a loose wheel or if it was speeding or what.
I know it doesn't say in Racer Reference. I can't remember.
Yeah,
I can't recall. But he did get trapped in the back. I don't recall what that was. I think you're right though. I think it was a speeding penalty.
That's what I thought. And then Clint Boyer has, first of all, maybe a loose wheel. I don't really know. I think we determined that it was a loose wheel that brought him to pit road the first time.
Major malfunction.
Yeah, comes in, and I mean, if it was a loose wheel, that sucker was loose because he lost it coming off of turn 4. I mean, he was wrecking. I thought for sure he was right that the track bar was gone in it. And so anyway, so he pits, comes back out, and then breaks the ball joint on the right front and puts it in the wall.
Kyle Busch had track bar issues too.
Yes, that's right. Kyle Busch had his issues. Although I think they determined he didn't actually have issues. It just wasn't reading on the dash.
It wasn't working or something. And
it was working. They just couldn't see the readout on it. So they had to jump in the car with that amazing move through the window.
Yeah, I know. A couple guys with track bar issues, and Kyle was screaming, and it's always good.
So Clint Boyer wrecks with Eric Almirola leading. They get the restart, which Almirola pits. And Chase Elliott stays out. A couple other guys stay out. Almirola started, 4th place?
Yeah.
And comes out of turn 2, loses it, bounces off the wall, smacks into Brad Keselowski, wrecks a bunch of cars in the front of the field.
Yeah, Bowman, Blaney, and Truex all involved.
Typical.
All playoff drivers.
Yeah, a typical Dover type crash there. And, Almirola ends up getting a 13th place finish out of it. So obviously win would have sealed his spot to the next round. He's still out of the playoffs right now.
Yeah.
But only 10 points out.
Right, and so many cars were lapped down at that point. There was only 15 cars on the lead lap.
Right.
So even the only person that accident really helped was Kyle Larson, who was just weirdly out to lunch all race, and he was fast during practice.
Yeah.
So that wreck really did help Larson. He was able to get back on the lead lap, and he jumped all the way up to 12th. So
and that crash hurt badly Alex Bowman.
Yeah, that Alex Bowman took a real. I try to every round of the playoffs. I'm going to try to cross a driver off, and he's the one right now. I'm crossing him off. So
yeah.
I think it's over for Bowman. I don't see him winning Talladega, and that's going to be what he's going to need to do.
He's got to win one. Yeah, he's going to have to win one of the next two, or he's not making it.
Yeah. Everybody else is still in the fight. He's in the Denny Hamlin, Eric Jones position from last round.
Right.
It's win or nothing at this point for him.
Where do we go? We go to Martinsville after Talladega, don't we?
We have Talladega and we should know this by now.
I know. I should have the schedule in front of me, but I don't.
It's not. Yeah, I think it is. No, is it? It's not Texas, is it? No, it's Martinsville.
Yeah, we go biggest track to smallest track.
Yep, and the Talladega, Martinsville, and then it's Texas, Phoenix.
Yes,
or something like that.
Yeah, Phoenix is a second to last race.
Yeah.
No, Phoenix is a cutoff race.
Yeah, Phoenix is the cutoff race.
So there's Texas, something, Phoenix,
Kansas.
Homestead.
They finished the round at Kansas and then Martinsville.
Okay, so Kansas is after
Talladega.
Okay.
Gosh, I can't believe I was forgetting that. Yes.
Wow, we're terrible.
It's
so terrible. All right,
give the people what they want.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So Kansas is who knows what's going to happen there? Probably Harvick. Anyway, so basically, Bowman is essentially out of it. Looking at the points right now, you got Joey Logano in 5th place. He's 31 points to the good. Kurt Busch, Brad Keselowski, both 21 points to the good in 6th and 7th. Ryan Blaney hanging on 10 points to the good in 8th. Eric Almirola 10 points out in 9th. Clint Bowyer 10 points out in 10th. Kyle Larson 12 points out in 11th. And Alex Bowman 34 points out in 12th place. James, looking at those 8 like we talked about last round, who are we thinking? Who's your 4 staying in?
Here's the problem that Almirola, Bowyer, and Larson have right now.
Okay.
Is that Logano, Kurt Busch, Brad Keselowski, and Ryan Blaney are all top class restrictor plate drivers right now.
Yeah.
All 4 of those guys, I mean, put them in a hat, any of them can win. I don't think as much for, I mean, anybody can win a restrictor plate race, but those guys are, I think, the class of the field. So with that, it's going to take those guys getting caught up in something for any of the other guys to come back in. I don't see it. I think we might have it set at this point. So, I think Blaney, Keselowski, Busch, and Logano all stay. I think they all stay pat.
I am going to make a prediction that Blaney falls out.
And that's probably the weakest link, I guess.
Yeah, Blaney's my pick to fall out, and it's gonna be Almirola or Bowyer. I feel like I don't know. I feel like Almirola. I feel like Almirola gets in over Blaney.
Yeah, I think Blaney. Well, we all know Blaney should have won the Daytona 500 this year.
Right.
And going to Talladega, if he can bring that type of speed back, and we know what his teammates are.
You also can't play the speed thing either because it doesn't matter. It's Talladega. Right. You're going to wreck a lot of cars in this thing.
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. But for whatever reason, the Penske guys always bring a good piece. They've just been strong there. And Keselowski's the best restrictor plate guy in the game. Yeah. And Logano's probably second right now. And then Blaney, he's been very good as well. So I just think with those guys, it's just going to be tough. I don't know. I mean, Larson's in big trouble here too. He's never been that big of a restrictor plate guy either.
Right.
I just don't see it. I think we're going to stand pat through Talladega. And if I had to put money on it, I think those 4 guys all get through.
I think Almirola is a good restrictor plate driver too, and we'll see.
He is. Yeah. Oh yeah, I agree.
I think he sneaks in.
I agree.
I'm going
These
Almirola
guys-
over Blaney. And then
Well, and-
what I'm saying right now is also going against what I think anyway. So that gives you a
That's
precursor for later.
Well, and what these guys are going to have to do is maybe in the first two stages when everybody else isn't being aggressive, if that's the case, Larson, those guys, they need to go out and win that stage.
Yeah.
You win a stage, you get 10 points right there.
Well, these guys, none of those guys, if you're racing to get in any of those bottom four,
You've got to win stages.
If you are riding in the back, just put it on a trailer and go home.
Yep.
I mean, there's just no point.
Yeah, you have to go. It's not just win every race. They got to go stage by stage. You got to win stage 1, win stage 2, and win the race.
Yeah.
Get everything you can, max out. Like, I know I'm crossing Alex Bowman off. I think he's done. But however, if he gets, he wins the first 2 stages and Blaney doesn't score any points, that puts him 4 points behind there.
That's the thing. These stage points.
It's gonna matter.
Last year it mattered because it got Truex to the final round.
Yep.
But this year it matters because it's swinging things before the end of races.
Yep. It's gonna change the game.
Okay, so I completely forgot about this, and I want to go on a little rant here, James. I know you always enjoy these. So
I like these. I like Eric's soapbox.
I have been very, very happy all season long, and I've praised NBC's coverage of the NASCAR series during their half of the schedule. I am infuriated week by week by the as they run point standings that they are so proud of on the left-hand side of the screen. The reason I am infuriated by them isn't like some people who get really annoyed over the points as they run, because I like points as they run. I think it makes sense. I know that those points positions aren't truly changing in real life because it doesn't matter until the stage is finished. The problem that I have is in stage 1, if you're in second place, their little algorithm gives you the points for second place all race long. So it counts stage 2, which you're not even 2 yet. I don't like that. I think it should be just the next stage coming. So after stage 1, then we can count those stage 1 points and start counting the stage 2 points, and so on and so forth. That really bothers me because it makes the swing look more than what it actually is.
Yeah. Or even just have the graphic pop up after stage 2.
Yeah.
After that whole thing.
I like knowing throughout the race where the swing is, but and I realize they haven't earned the points until the stage is finished. But you're certainly not earning any points for the second stage before the first stage.
You're not earning
ends.
any race points. Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's like saying, okay, let's just run the ticker at the side. We'll just predict the champion every week based on where they're running, because if he's leading the race today, he's going to be leading the race next week, right?
Right.
I mean, it's stupid. I don't like it. So that really bothers me. I didn't realize that was what they were doing until they explained it this week on the broadcast, and then now I hate it. It's awful.
Eric's soapbox. I love it.
I know.
It's good.
All right. The only anything else to talk about the race? I want to get to the prank of the weekend, but let's talk anything else about the race first before.
I think we're good on the race. I mean,
Denny Hamlin finished second.
Yeah, he gave him a show.
The pressure's off, man. He doesn't have to. There's nothing to prove now. Denny's going to come out and win. He's my prediction for Martinsville already because
he's got nothing to lose.
Yeah. What's he got to lose? He's going to win now that it doesn't matter.
Well, do we want to talk a little bit about Chase Elliott anymore?
Yeah, let's talk about Chase.
Just I mean, it's second career win. Like you said, he didn't luck into it. You got to get those restarts and put yourself in position.
He didn't choke, that's for sure. I mean, he not only did he get a restart, but he also got a restart on old tires. So
that was going to be my quick comment on it. Was Chase Elliott had a history of not closing the deal, not sealing the deal.
Yep.
And his 2 wins now, he's done exactly what I think. At least I know I've been screaming that this is what this guy needs to do.
Yep.
And he's like, it's almost like that car he's driving is not to the level of where his competitors are at.
Mm-hmm.
But he's getting the most out of it now.
Yep.
I think he's finally kind of made the leap to the next level of his career.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great to see him. I don't know. The trajectory is now there. Until he started winning races, you can't really place any trajectory on him. We knew he was good. I mean, we both looked at Dover last week and we looked right past him. And
I know. I will say, I almost picked him.
Yeah, and we both were looking at it. Like, he had a career average finish of like 5 or something there. So He's really good at Dover. So we knew he was going to be in a good spot. But to put himself in position, that team clicking, and now Talladega is not a worry for them.
Yeah. I mean,
That's
that,
huge.
can't think of any better way to go to Talladega than not having to
Oh
think
yeah,
about it.
he can air it out. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he won Talladega.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, there's no reason to ride in the back. Just go out there, and all you got to
you
worry
wreck
about is
the
getting
lap.
hurt. And,
Exactly.
these guys don't think about that. So just go out there and run it.
Yeah, you could wreck in lap 1. It doesn't matter. He is locked in, and he could be dangerous getting into that next round because he's really good at Martinsville. So, he's if that team is
I got
is
him
looking
going to the final round, round 4. So that's,
yeah, I mean, if that team's now looking ahead, they've got all this time to prepare for Martinsville. All these other tracks. They're the first ones who get to prepare for their shot at the Final Four.
Well, and we've said it before, and Tony Stewart proved it several years ago. This is the time. If you're going to get on a roll, this is the time to do it. The best time to have momentum is in the playoffs because this system allows you to go far if you can get the momentum going at the right time.
Yep. Yeah, he could be a bracket buster type of deal if he gets into that Final Four. And Blaney last week, that was a nice young gun victory as well. So
yeah, where the heck did our big 3 go?
Well, they're happy.
I mean, Harvick was there, but Harvick has been the last few times he's had a good car, he's not been able to finish.
Yeah. The thing with Harvick though is the speed is as good as it's ever been.
Yeah.
If they can just tighten up the pit road issues.
Yeah, and they're so far up there that it almost doesn't matter. That
the 3. Yeah. Boyer Truex, Busch, and Harvick really don't have anything to worry about. They're
as
getting
long as
in,
they don't have 2 major terrible races, they're good. Basically.
Yeah, they can have like Talladega this week. Each of those guys can all have issues, and it's not gonna matter. They're pretty much. I mean, I'm looking at the points right now. They're so far ahead.
God, it's really easy to say that, but man, you go out early. You go out early. You're losing all those points on the day.
Yeah, Truex really isn't that far ahead. Busch and Harvick are fine. They're not.
Well, here's the thing too. You run into one of these situations where, okay, so Bowman comes out and wins Talladega. A couple of the front guys have trouble early, don't get any of those stage points. And then, Larson comes out or Boyer comes out and wins at Kansas. Now we're flipping things on its head. I mean, things can happen. That's the great part of this playoff system that we have is it does reward the consistency, but there's still a chance for things to go wrong, basically.
That's going to come into play in the next round when one of these guys doesn't make it to Homestead.
Mm-hmm.
And it's gonna happen.
Yeah, I think so.
Now, if Chase Elliott comes out and wins Martinsville, or let's say Elliott wins Martinsville, and maybe Larson steals it at ISM. I mean,
right.
That's it right there. There's 2 guys, so it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be really good.
Yes, it will. Anything else on the race?
I think
trying to look at the results to see if there's anybody really to. Austin Dillon got himself a 7th place finish. Pretty good for him.
Yeah. Yep. Stenhouse top 10.
Yeah. Yeah, Stenhouse has been running pretty decent the last couple weeks.
Yeah, he's starting to. He was pretty bad at the Roval, but
yeah,
everything else has been good.
Not counting the Roval, sorry.
He was Ricky Spinhouse at the Roval.
Yeah. So let's talk about this prank, which I think was one of the greatest things in recent NASCAR history. So obviously we know the history last week with Jimmie Johnson wrecking coming into the last turn, taking out Truex and costing both of them the win. So I guess the story is that Cole saw Jimmie riding his bike or whatever and said, that would be a cool thing. That would make up to the team if you would get us all road bicycles to make up for costing us the win last week. So Jimmie sneaks in the dark of night to Dover with a bunch of kiddie little girl bicycles.
He went to Walmart, yeah.
Oh man, with streamers on the handlebars. The only thing they didn't have, they didn't have training wheels. That would have been even better. So loads them up on the back of the hauler, on the tailgate on the hauler, and that's what the crew comes into, and every crew comes into the garage on Sunday to find these bicycles, and it was the best thing ever.
Really good.
I did see Cole Pern put a sign up on the trailer too, or somebody did that. Free bicycles tend to wheel hop.
Yeah.
So
I think the hatchet's been buried between the 78 and the 48 by now.
I think so.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was good stuff. It was a nice, good-natured prank and got a good laugh, and I loved it. When I saw that,
Johnson had pictures of him picking up the bikes and stuffing them into a Tahoe. So that was pretty funny because he had there was 15 bikes there.
Yeah, it was good. It was good stuff.
Yeah, it was cool.
So, I will say, if you guys, I've talked about it before on the show, and we've hit on it before. If you don't listen to Dale Jr.'s podcast, the Dale Jr. download, right, is what it's called.
Yep. I'll be listening next week, by the way, because he's bringing on my boy.
I
McGee.
know. I heard that. I knew that you'd be all over that. But this week's episode, Junior talks about some of the pranks in NASCAR, and I was losing it during this.
Awesome.
So definitely worth checking it out. It's worth checking it out every week if you guys don't listen to it, but check it out this week for sure if you get a chance. It was pretty good. Junior's always got some good insight on things. So.
And stories, yeah.
Yes.
For sure.
And yeah, the inside stories, the things that you don't. The best one was he said that his dad put sardines, was it, underneath Rusty's driver's seat for a test once.
Oh, that's
a really
awesome.
hot day. And he said that car smelled awful. So,
that's
yeah,
awesome.
It's some good stuff in there. So definitely check that out.
Yeah.
All right. I think it's time to get on to the news, James. There wasn't any big news or anything this week, right?
What a day for news. What a day.
No kidding. So right at the end of the day, basically, we get the news.
I know.
That that the breakup is happening. What was it, 17 years did I see?
17 years. 2001 is when Johnson made his first 5 starts until 2018.
Jimmie Johnson and Chad Knaus are breaking up at the end of the season. Chad Knaus will go over to William Byron.
The Beatles are breaking up, man.
And Jimmie's getting the crew chief from Elliott Sadler's Xfinity team. I can't remember what his name is off the top of my head, though. I guess I could pull up the story I have linked here.
Yeah, he's man, I feel like Rick Hendrick's been listening to our podcast because isn't this what we said should have, or maybe it was me. I think it was me.
Yeah, it was you that said it. Yeah, I'm more along the lines of keeping them together, but
I said my thing was invest in the future right now.
Yeah.
And looks like Rick Hendrick is going with that route of, hey, William Byron's going to be here for a while. Let's get him some years with Knaus.
So here's the question I have. I'm for that. I understand the investing in the future, and that's very obviously what that move is. But what is the move of the younger crew chief coming to Jimmie? Is that a send Jimmie out to pasture, or is that a try to improve?
I think this whole thing is that 48's been stale. Even winning the championship in 2016, that car has not run good since 2015.
Kevin Meendering?
And Kevin Meendering.
He's coming over from. Sorry, Kevin, to not remember your name. I apologize. Come over with Jimmie and win another championship. Everybody.
Yeah,
will know
he
your
used
name.
to be with Junior's team for a while too, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. But really, that 48 car has been bad for a while.
It has.
And Rick Hendrick's never been one to not shake things up. He's always done it when it's time. Even the press release that they had today was kind of strange. He said that they've had basically he said that there's been some hard times, but they've always figured it out like brothers, and maybe it's just to the point where it's just not there anymore.
So none of the quotes in this press release are from anybody but Rick Hendrick.
Yep.
So
he's the one who's making the call at the end of the day.
Are Jimmie and Chad in on this decision, or do they have no say in it?
I think they've got to have a say in it.
I would hope so too. I think just that it's owed to them to get at least their opinions on it, and
I think them sticking together as long as they has been their call too.
Yeah, I think so.
They probably could have broken the band up a couple of different times.
Yeah.
Maybe after 2012 or something, after not winning for a few years, but they've always had the chance to come back, and they've always proven themselves. Man, it's just so crazy. It's crazy that it finally happened. Eventually it had to.
Right.
But now we get to see what they can do with somebody else's stuff.
Yeah, how much of it is the relationship between Chad and Jimmie, and how much of it is how good of a driver Jimmie is, or how good of a crew chief Chad is. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, and if that 24 comes out and is really good next year, which it could happen. I don't think Hendrick Motorsports as a whole is there right now, but man, just mixing it up. I don't know. It's that's big. This is probably the biggest news out of the sport in a while.
Do you know how many times we've said that this year?
I know.
Last couple years. Do you know how many times we've said that since this podcast?
Yeah.
I mean, it was big when Junior announced his retirement. this is big. I mean, what else the Brian France thing was big.
Yep.
I mean, there's been
The
some
Roval.
the Roval. I mean, we've had some pretty big news.
Yep.
Been an interesting couple of years.
Yeah, this one though is as far as a team is concerned, I mean that's a foundation shaker. That team has been, glue.
Yeah.
As much as that has changed in NASCAR from you think about from 2001 when they first got together. So that's the year Dale Jr. dies, or excuse me, Dale Sr. passes away at Daytona. And we've come all this way from then until now, and all these changes to the COT, to the Gen 6 car, to running trucks on dirt and all this stuff. The one constant thing has been Jimmie and Chad and Lowe's.
See,
and
I'm at that age where like 2001 wasn't that long ago.
You think about it, yeah.
When you start to think about it, you realize how far ago. But to me, it's like I was just, that wasn't that long ago, and I'm like, okay, that's the year after I graduated from high school.
Yeah,
like,
I was a sophomore.
Like that was a long time ago. It's been a long time since I've been in high school.
My brother was born in June of 2001. So, no, 2002.
Oh man, better get it right, man. If you're gonna be saying it on the air.
No, so my brother, I got that right because my brother's 16. I have a 16-year-old brother who has not been on this earth as long as Chad and Jimmie have been partners.
That's crazy.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Put it in that context. There are people who are just getting their driver's licenses who weren't even born when they got together.
That is pretty nuts.
I mean, that's, I think about the great crew chief driver combinations of all time. This is the pinnacle. There will never be another Jimmie and Chad.
No. Yeah, there will.
I don't know, 7 championships together?
Well, I don't. Is that the only way that you can quantify it, though?
How much success is enough to reach what they've had?
Yeah.
Together.
I don't know. We said nobody was going to win 7 championships again after Richard Petty did it, and then Earnhardt did it, and then we said when Earnhardt did it, nobody would do it again, and then Jimmie did it.
Yeah, but they've done it as a pair. Like even Earnhardt and Petty, they had different crew chiefs along the way.
I don't know.
These two did it all.
I think
it all together.
It's too difficult to say never.
True.
I mean,
I'll do that, but I
don't know.
Even if somebody comes along and is just,
we
would.
I just like to crap on your parade.
Well, you would think. Yeah, that's fine, and that's fine. But you never would have thought we'd have seen anything like Evernham and Gordon, right?
Right.
Like that was incredible, and these two have blown that away.
But Evernham and Gordon was Evernham. I mean, that wasn't because they got separated or anything. I mean,
Evernham had enough. Yeah, Evernham had enough. It's just Chad and Jimmie, and neither one of them ever wanted to leave. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I don't know if that's ever going to happen again. I don't know.
I don't know. You keep clicking off championships like they did. I can see why they didn't want to leave.
Like Letarte was, you think about like a guy like Letarte. He was next in line as one of the great crew chiefs, and he just had enough of it. Went into the TV booth.
Right.
It's hard.
It's just the Jimmie Johnson effect, period. Because again, we talked about before. You take Jimmie Johnson out, how many other drivers have championships? I mean, it's the Jimmie Johnson effect, and it's really the Jimmie Johnson Chad Knaus effect. So
yeah, I think
it's an end of an era, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, Chad's a huge piece of that pie.
Yeah,
I don't know what the percentages are. Johnson probably has the biggest chunk, and Hendrick Motorsports has another really big chunk of that success pie. But I don't know. Knaus is pretty damn important.
Yeah.
For that whole run, I mean, he was a consistent rock. Conspiracy theory, James, is coming out.
All right.
Do you think that there was some sort of a meeting after that Roval debacle that was like the nail in the coffin, or do you think this was planned before that?
I don't know.
You think Chad looked at that and said,
I don't feel like this is a decision that was made in the last week. I don't think so. I think this is a decision
I agree with you.
I think this has been cooking for... I'd say last season this has been cooking since.
I would say probably since 2016.
Yeah, probably.
But we're gonna have Bizarro Johnson out there next year. I mean, no Lowe's, no,
I know, right?
No Knaus. It's gonna be weird.
Yeah,
it's gonna be weird.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know where to, I don't know where to put. I mean,
I don't have anything else to say about it really. I mean, it's one of those things like it's not going to seem right, but it it didn't seem right. It doesn't seem right not have Dale Jr. on the track. I mean,
yeah,
they really didn't seem right when Edwards left. I mean, so it's just the transition we're in right now.
Yep. It's just surprising that they broke up without. I guess I thought that maybe they were going to just go out together.
Yeah.
And now they're not going to do it that way.
Nope.
It's weird.
Yeah, it is. All right. Moving on. All right. Equally big news. Not really, but I think it's a big deal. NASCAR announces they will eliminate the driver adjustable track bar next season. And apparently this was a call from the drivers who were requesting this to happen. Do you think as fans we're going to notice it, James? And is it a big deal? I guess this could have been our do we care topic this week, but what do you think?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. I guess I thought it would have been a bigger deal when they first brought it on. It really hasn't.
Yeah.
Really been anything.
I think the only way it's really been a big deal hasn't been so much the fact that they can adjust them during the race. It's when they have a problem with it. Like Kyle having his problem this weekend. I remember Larson having his problem at Kentucky. That's been the it was Larson that had a problem at Kentucky, right?
I think you're right. Yeah. Yep.
Right. It's been when it's gone wrong that has been noticeable, not so much when it's gone right. So
yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I don't see it as a big deal. I think some of the funny stuff I saw on Twitter was like Michael Waltrip was really excited that they were bringing it in and how it was going to change the sport.
Yeah.
And then, so somebody went back and found that old tweet, and then Michael Waltrip was tweeting like, "This is great to get rid of this, blah blah blah," and I just thought that was hilarious.
That is funny. I mean, to me, it's one of those things. Like, I like the idea of the driver adjustable track bar. That okay, we're a little tight, we can loosen it up. We're a little loose, we can tighten it up. That sort of thing. What it became is drivers adjusting it on the front stretch to go into turn 1 and 2, and then adjusting it again for 3 and 4 and back. That stuff irritates me. It's one of those things that these crews are just going to overthink and ruin it. And I don't like that. I don't like IndyCar when they're adjusting their wing and all that crap that they can do during the race. And just the driver should just drive what he's got, and then pit and make the adjustments. And that's the way it should be.
Drivers drive with what's underneath them.
Yeah, the only thing you can adjust is the brake bias, and I'd be all right if they got rid of that.
Yep.
So,
just drive the cars, man.
Yep. That's been what has separated our sport from the other sports, is that we haven't had all that technology on the cars, and now we've got these digital dashes and all this data that they have and everything. And I get it that this is what our production cars are becoming too, but I don't know. I'm good with keeping it old fashioned and just letting them adjust it in the pits and keep racing.
Adjust the tire pressure, adjust the track bar on the wedge, and
Now, what does make this interesting is that with the limited pit crew members, down a pit crew member, this is one less adjustment they can do in the car and one more adjustment they have to do on pit road.
Yes.
So that will have an effect and probably lengthen some pit stops and probably keep some cars handling not as well, because the teams aren't going to want to put the effort in to make the adjustment and lose the time. Yeah, I'm good. Let's do that.
I want the cars harder to drive.
Yep.
Good.
Make them real difficult to drive,
Yep.
So
they should be hard to drive. But next year, who knows how the aero package and everything's going to work next year, so how much that is even going to really matter. So we'll see.
Yep. Also, some information emerged this week on the future of ARCA in 2020, when they're going to change some things up. And it kind of looks like it's leaning the direction that we were expecting it to lean. So I'm going to... I have an article linked if you go to the show notes at thesuperspeedway.com with some reaction from beyondtheflag.com. I'm not going to get into their reaction to it, but I will go through. Bob Pockers tweeted out some of the changes. So let me run through what Bob tweeted out here real quick. So basically what we're going to have is there's going to be 4 championships. For those of you that don't know or living under a rock, ARCA was purchased by NASCAR this year. Again, one of those big news items that happened this year.
Yeah.
So basically there's been question as to what they do, and there's been a lot of speculation that they're going to make it kind of like the K&N series, because that's, they're very similar to the K&N cars. And it kind of looks like that's sort of the direction we're going. So drivers will have the opportunity to compete for 4 championships, all of which feature, I'm not going to read their press release jargon. Anyway, 4 championships they can run in. There's the NASCAR K&N Pro Series West and Pro Series East championships. So they will have 6 to 8 events on short tracks under a mile long in their traditional region. This is down from, I think they run like 14 to 18 races right now in these series. So they're going to shorten their series up essentially. The ARCA Racing Elite Series is what the ARCA Series is going to become. We made up of approximately 20 races, at least half on speedways more than a mile. They include traditional companion events in both the ARCA and Pro Series, blah, blah, blah. The fourth championship is the Stock Car Invitational. Championship will consist of the remaining approximately 10 races of the Elite Series, and it'll be on premier short tracks that have long been part of ARCA and the K&N Series. So I'm thinking we're talking tracks like Toledo, maybe Berlin, those types of tracks. To be eligible for the championship in the three-way combination series, East and West competitors must compete in a minimum number of races across those series. So the chassis and body will be roughly the same across all four championships. In the Elite Series, they'll run the current ARCA engine package. Teams competing in the Pro Series, East and West, will run the existing package in those series. If they compete for the Stock Car Invitational, they must race with the same engine they used in whatever series they're running. Drivers have to be 15 years old to compete in the Pro Series East and West, as well as the Stock Car Invitational. If you're going to run the big tracks, got to be 18 years old to compete. I think it's interesting. It's definitely developing a ladder system to get to NASCAR, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I mean,
nope. The development.
The problem is that we've got a lot of drivers in development. It's teams and sponsorship and all that stuff that we need to get in development too. So there's somewhere for them to go.
I think this strengthens all of the series.
Yeah,
I really do. The teams will be more dispersed, and you're going to see more teams, I think, come to ARCA.
Right.
And I think you'll see some teams go into the K&N series. I mean, all the things, all the bodies and specs are going to be fairly similar. So
I hope it gets more exposure for the K&N series too. I know right now NBC does broadcast some of their races. They're usually tape delayed by a couple weeks.
They're usually very good, by the way.
Yeah, they're excellent races. It's a great series. And so hopefully that will increase their exposure a little bit too. Get them, more on the on the radar a little bit. And I'm totally good with, we've seen people jump into the Xfinity series or in the truck series that don't have any business being there. And it's good to have this ladder system there that's essentially established for them to work their way up the ranks.
Yeah. Well, this gives us a legitimate single A system. Yeah. Like if you look at how baseball is constructed, it's very similar. Like there's multiple levels of single A baseball, and now we've got something similar in stock car racing where you have the K&N series, which is like your low A.
Yep.
And combining with the ARCA Racing Elite Series now, which is your high A.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you transition to trucks and so on and so forth into Xfinity and hopefully Cup. So
what I see this doing, probably the biggest thing that I see this doing is I see more companion events with NASCAR, which is not surprising.
Yeah,
I think we'll see more ARCA races on weekends when there's Cup races.
Yep.
I hope this doesn't get rid of the DeCoins and these dirt tracks and these tracks that we run right now in the ARCA series, because they do run on some great tracks. I don't think it will. I think, and if anything, it's going to help the K&N series and getting into those types of tracks too. I mean, K&N ran at Las Vegas on the dirt this year, so I think all around it's going to be a good thing, and it makes me a lot happier with the future of ARCA that NASCAR is not just shutting it down or not just creating this series that isn't going to get the publicity.
Yeah, they're definitely they're definitely investing in development, similar to what Toyota's doing with its drivers individually.
Yep,
putting a lot of stock in this lower level to get seat time.
Right.
So NASCAR's doing kind of the same thing with the series as a whole. So
right, and we're still a couple years out on this. 2020 is when we're looking at this for. Obviously, we'll know a lot more as we get closer to it, and a lot more will probably be announced. Some of this may not even come to fruition. Some of it might be adjusted. Who knows? But I'm liking the direction it's going right now.
Yep, me too.
So, all right, let's talk silly season, James. We already talked a little bit with Jimmie and Chad, but let's talk a little bit more. Matt Kenseth not intending to drive next year. Not that that's really surprising. Basically, he says only if Rush Fenway calls and needs a driver, he'll pop in once in a while. But that's it for Kenseth. He's done.
Man, I don't know. Why did he come back this year?
I don't know. That's the thing. I don't get this. I don't get this return this year. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, he shouldn't have. I don't know. He went out on as high of a note as you can go out. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I love listening to the Radioactive and stuff where they do the audio and you hear people like, I don't know who's in that 6 car this week. Is it Kenseth or Bane? It's like it's pretty funny because they're dealing with
Yeah.
that guy out there and they don't know who they're racing against.
Yep.
So I mean, it's
That's
good to
pretty
know that they're as confused when Kenseth is running as we are.
Yeah.
Because we don't know. We don't ever pick Kenseth because we don't know if he's in the car or not.
Yeah, I know. I can never pick him in fantasy because I never know what he's up to.
Yeah.
So
Not really any news here other than the fact that I kind of thought maybe he'd be a player somewhere. But
yeah,
I
I
guess-
thought maybe he'd try to get I thought that this was like his stepping stone to trying to get back into a full-time ride, but
I
looks
thought so
like
too. Maybe it was James, and maybe he just decided it's just not. He prefers this, and
yeah. Well, if he
prefers being
can't
a
run
mentor.
it, yeah, and if he can't run equipment like he was getting at Gibbs, what's the point?
Right.
I think maybe he had that realization because
Yeah, it wasn't him; it was the car.
yeah, well, I mean, it probably has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, obviously it does. I mean, he won a race last year at the end of the year,
Right.
so
Okay. A little bit more Jimmie Johnson news. Rick Hendrick says he expects a sponsorship announcement for Jimmie in the next 30 days. In NASCAR speak, that means they've got a sponsor lined up. They just need to sign the papers.
yeah, I wonder if they're looking for a secondary or associate
Yeah, I
on
don't
that car too. I'm wondering.
I
You think
am-
it's Red? You think it's Red Bull?
I don't know. It'll be interesting to see because can it be Red Bull? I don't think Red Bull can come in because Monster's still there for another year.
Yeah, I
So
don't
Monster would have
know.
the exclusive.
Those have been the rumors going around that it's Red Bull
Really?
that I've been seeing, but I don't know the rules. I guess I don't know the rules on that.
Because Monster won't let Knaus in. I don't believe.
Monster owns Nas, doesn't it? No, maybe it doesn't.
No, they're separate. I don't know. It'll be. What I guess my curiosity is it going to be a single sponsor?
I guess I don't know.
Or are we going to have multiples like we have for every other?
What if
team?
he's going to bring a sponsor back? I'm curious. This actually does really
Tide.
interest me. Yeah, Tide, UPS.
Can you imagine Jimmie Johnson driving the Tide car?
Yeah, the Tide
I
ride
don't-
for the
I'm-
38.
I didn't even think about it. I'm really bothered by this. I'm going to have a hard time seeing Jimmie Johnson in a non-Lowe's type.
I
paint
know.
scheme.
That's what I'm saying.
God.
It's so freaking weird. Bizarro Johnson out there.
You're not kidding.
What if
not
it was
even
Home
right.
Depot? I would love. I would be so.
Oh, that would
I
be so good. Oh, I'd be
It'll
down.
never happen in a million
No,
years.
but it'd be awesome.
Can you imagine Johnson winning his 8th championship in a Home Depot car? Wouldn't that be cool?
It'd be great.
Or maybe it's Menards.
Yeah,
I
maybe.
don't know. I don't know, man. It's crazy that he's. I've been more intrigued by what Johnson's sponsor is going to be than I think a lot of other stuff that's gone on in the series this
Yeah,
year.
I am also. It is to me. This is just as interesting as some of the driver.
Yeah, because
driver
he's the
changes.
7-time champ. He's the best ever to put a fire suit on.
Yeah,
Man.
yeah.
Crazy.
We've determined on this show that he is the best all time.
Yeah, and
so-
if you don't like it, you can find another podcast.
Exactly. We're done debating that. It's over with. When he retires, we're not going to debate it then either because he's the best ever. Now,
Yes.
somebody might come along and be better, but
Yep.
currently that driver does not exist in the Cup Series.
Well, and if William Byron wins 30 races next year with Knaus as his crew chief, then I might be able to be swayed back in another direction.
Yeah.
Until then, that's the
Yeah.
way it is.
Yeah. William Byron is on with, was he on with Dave Moody today? I think it was on, no, he was talking to Chocolate Myers and on Sirius. And they were talking about how it seems like he's been in the sport for a while, but he doesn't even have 100 races, I don't think, across all 3 series yet.
Yeah, he's still a young pup.
I mean, it's just crazy to think when you
I
see
saw
him.
Reddit. I saw a Reddit thread. I'm gonna give Reddit the business really quick. And it was, let's have an honest talk about William Byron's career. I'm like, give it a rest.
Right.
He's just a kid, man.
I'll
He's
tell you
coming.
what, man. When you're down in the garage, and these guys, especially William Byron, he's a kid, man.
Yeah, he's just a pup, man.
It's like,
Just a pup.
I mean, I cover stuff at the high school, and like, there's kids in the high school here that look way older than William Byron does.
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, and Byron's
if
not
you're
the
William-
only one like that.
If you're William Byron, you've got to be itching for next year to know that you've got Chad Knaus coming over. Nobody else has had Chad Knaus except
That's
for the
true.
greatest to ever do it. And now you get your shot.
Speaking of young drivers, I completely missed this, and I should have put it in the notes. We got to go back to Dover for a second because history happened this weekend in the Xfinity Series because Christopher Bell became the winningest rookie in the Xfinity Series ever.
Oh
winning
yeah,
at
that was
Dover.
good. Yep.
That we were talking about best ever driver ever doesn't exist in the Cup Series.
He's coming.
There's a chance he could be on his way because this
You like
kid is.
Christopher Bell.
I really like Christopher Bell. This kid is good.
Well, I was going to bring him up in our next bullet point.
Okay.
So maybe we have a transition there. But
All right. Sounds
Christopher
good.
Bell, yeah, he looks like the real deal, man.
Yeah.
And they're going to keep him down there.
I can't believe it.
He has nothing left to do in the Xfinity
Has there
Series.
been an official announcement for that yet?
Yeah, Joe's keeping him down there.
Has he announced it officially?
I think so. I guess I don't know if it's on paper, but he said he's staying down there. Joe Gibbs himself has said
There's
it.
still 3 open rides right now.
Well, okay, so this goes into our next bullet point.
Well, should we talk about Casey Kane first?
Yep.
Let's talk about Casey Kane.
It has a direct tie into
Okay.
that.
Yeah, because you told me I didn't have a chance to pull any conspiracy music for you, but you had you wanted conspiracy music on this one too. So, all right.
Yeah, I do. This is a good bullet point for me.
So Casey Kane, his career's done. He's over with in the Cup Series. He's not coming back.
Yeah.
We already knew he was done at the end of the season. He'd made that announcement already, but he's not returning. And I saw some people, your buddies in Reddit again, talking about Casey and all the issues with him shaking and stuff after races and after accidents and stuff, and wondering if this exhaustion thing or whatever stems from that and blah blah blah. I don't know. I don't want to speculate into that stuff.
Well, that's where I was going with some of this stuff.
Okay.
Is it really the hydration issue and all this other stuff, or what? Is there something else going on here?
Huh. I don't know, man.
It's weird.
It's really weird.
This is reckless speculation. I'm not claiming that Casey Kane's up to no good. I'm just recklessly speculating. This is really weird.
Yeah, it is. It is very odd. It's almost to the level of Junior. I mean, it's Junior odd when Junior had the concussion symptoms, especially when Junior had the concussion symptoms after, not like immediately after the crash that you would think he'd have the concussion symptoms from, but after that, which we've learned. Junior's helped us learn a lot too about concussions and how they work. And my speculation that, especially considering next week he's releasing a book about it, I don't buy any of that anymore. I think that whole deal is legit. But yeah, it's weird. It's really weird. I mean, just the exhaustion thing to begin with was weird, and now it's even weirder.
Yeah, and he said in his tweet, like, I'll be back racing dirt soon. Like, you can race the dirt. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, if you think about it, you're racing a sprint car, you're running 30 laps, a 30 lap feature. That's a lot different in an open cockpit. Yeah. It's a lot different than running in a, But
if you're tired and exhausted, you're tired and exhausted. I mean,
if it's because you just don't have the strength to endure,
but it doesn't
4
make
hour
sense.
Long race in a hot box anymore.
Right.
I could see that being the case. I don't know. I agree with you though. It seems very odd.
Well, it's like you can run 10 miles at a very leisurely pace, or you can walk 10 miles, or you can sprint for 100 yards. What's gonna make you more tired? Right.
Yeah.
One of those deals.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. I mean, Casey owes us nothing to explain more, but I'd love to get more of an explanation on this and know what it is he's dealing with. Yeah,
and we've eulogized his career probably enough on the podcast. But,
yeah, I think we kind of already did that. I don't really need to talk about it.
I mean, it's, hate to see him go, but he was a non-factor this year. He was already gone.
Yeah, he's
been gone.
Yep.
That's a bummer. He kind of limped out.
Yeah, it's too bad. You always like to see somebody get a send off,
Yeah, he didn't. He's not going to get the send off, and maybe he will come back for a one-off.
Yeah, I mean,
here and there.
He could do the Mark Martin send off and come back, and then get sent off again, and then come back and get sent off again. I mean,
yeah, it's kind of cool to see him try to win the big races or something, or Well, but it sounds like he might be done.
I'll tell you what, and since you mentioned that, the one-off thing, that was another thing I wanted to mention in this podcast is if you haven't had a chance, if you don't follow Dale Jr.'s Twitter or his Dirty Mo Media YouTube account, check out, is it called The Drive? Is that what it was? The video?
The Return,
The Return,
I think?
That's what it is.
Yeah.
The Return. It's a short film, 20 minutes long, about his return to the Xfinity Series at Richmond. Very well done. Great piece. Pretty cool. So check that out.
Yeah, they're doing some good stuff over there, by the way.
Yeah, those guys have their stuff together, and it's pretty neat. So
Right. To bring this back to Levine Family Racing really quick. So they bring it into Benedetto.
Yep.
and that's great. The newsworthy note that I got out of this was owner Bob Levine. Is it Levine or Levine? I don't know.
I
Levine.
don't know.
Anyway, Bob Levine said that they would be open to running a second car for Christopher Bell part-time. Which
Well, I
is
mean,
interesting.
he's got to get some time in a Cup car next year.
Yeah.
He's got to run a Cup car. There's
And-
no way he doesn't get to run some Cup races next year.
Do you know the answer to who has the longest contract length remaining at Joe Gibbs Racing right now, currently?
Do you know the answer to it?
I do know the answer to it, and it's going to shock you.
Longest remaining contract at Joe
Not-
Gibbs? It's got to be
Yep.
Denny Hamlin, right?
It's Denny Hamlin.
Yeah, because he signed a really long-term contract.
He's got the longest deal at Joe Gibbs Racing. So if he's not going anywhere,
Huh.
who you gonna? You're kicking out Eric Jones.
How many more years has Truex got?
That's true. I don't know.
And Truex ain't even in the seat yet, man.
I know.
It's
And he's
not.
got-
That's no. There's been no announcement. Although everybody's
you-
pretty much insisting it's going to happen. I heard him
true.
talking today about the fact that they're
It's
not going to
over.
change that number from 19 to 78. That it's going to Truex is going to switch to 19. It's like
Yep.
you guys are talking about it like it's happened. Hasn't
It's
happened
already
yet.
over. Yeah, it's over. I think it's over.
Yeah, I think that announcement's. We're waiting for people to be out of the playoffs.
When the crew chief for Suarez got fired this week,
Yeah.
that was the nail in the coffin
Yeah.
for like, okay, Pern's coming.
Yeah, effective
Right.
immediately.
Yeah. If Truex gets eliminated from the playoffs.
Speaking of which, that's the next item. JGR
Yeah,
announces
sorry.
crew
I
chiefs.
stepped-
I know you jumped over with the Levine family racing too. So Joe Gibbs Racing announces crew chief Scott Graves leaving immediately. Dave Rogers taking over the 19 car for crew chiefing duties for the rest of the season.
Yep.
As James mentioned, Levine family racing is switching to Toyota next year. Matt DiBenedetto is going to drive that car in 2019, and he is excited about a chance to run for the playoffs.
I mean, come on. Get out of here with that playoff talk.
So here's the deal. And they talked
Don't wanna
about,
hear it.
I think
Don't
Mooney
wanna hear
talked
it.
about it today on Sirius. This team, Levine Family Racing, is hoping to do what Furniture Row did. The problem is Levine Family Racing is not what Furniture Row was when Furniture Row signed with Toyota and Joe
That
Gibbs.
is correct. Yep, that's
They're
correct.
not to that level. Now, all the power in the world, all the praise in the world to those guys over there for I mean, anybody who can start a NASCAR team and progress. I mean, they're improving. They're improving.
Yeah.
They're now a name in the sport, and this is going to help them. It's going to propel them. Matt DiBenedetto, to me, is a Regan Smith type driver right now. He's going to come in. He's going to fill the gap. He's going to have a couple good finishes, maybe sneak a win out in that car. He's going to help propel the team to the level where they can grab a Kurt Busch, or somebody like that. They can
Yeah.
get in there to improve it a little bit more, and then they can jump for somebody like Truex. Obviously, I'm using those names as examples, not as drivers that will ever run in this car. But, and I mean, hey, Christopher Bell comes up and runs some races in this car too. Joe Gibbs equipment, they're going to take a Joe Gibbs car and they're going to give it to him to run Christopher Bell in it. They're not going to run a car from the Levine Family Racing shop.
Yeah.
And Bell comes out and gets a win or two. That could really propel these guys too. They're moving in the right direction in the sport, and I applaud them for that. Hopefully they don't run out of money or commitment or whatever before that happens. Because we need more people in the sport. We need more teams that are effective. But don't get me wrong, this is not a team that's going to come in and they're going to win a championship next year or 2 years or 3 years down the road. It's just not.
No,
gonna happen.
they're not going to be competitive next year at all.
No.
I don't think. You think about the Furniture Row team. I mean, they were racing for a championship before they even got with Gibbs.
Well, I think Matt DiBenedetto is a good driver.
Yeah.
Good.
Yep.
Good driver.
Good driver. Yeah. And
I don't think Matt
offense-
DiBenedetto is a guy who. I don't think Matt
No.
DiBenedetto is a guy that gets in a Hendrick Motorsports car or a Joe Gibbs Racing car and wins consistently. I just don't.
Yeah, well, I don't think Alex Bowman's that guy either, but
Yeah,
that's neither.
that's true. That's a good point. I agree with you on that, actually.
Yeah, and this is great for DiBenedetto and it's great for Levine, but neither one of those two have ever shown any sort of top 20 consistency ever.
Right.
Really. And DiBenedetto's been trying to get there, but he's just never had the equipment. So this will be his best equipment. It's a team that's still on the rise, though. That's the problem.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what, if Toyota can throw the money behind them too, because Toyota needs more than just Joe Gibbs.
Yes.
Because again, Christopher Bell's not necessarily a Joe Gibbs driver. Christopher Bell's a Toyota driver, and Toyota wants to keep him. You know, they don't want to lose this guy, so they need somewhere for him to go if somebody's not leaving JGR. Because I'm sorry, Christopher Bell's coming to the Cup Series. Next year he's going to run part-time, and the year after he's going to race in the Cup Series. And if it's not with Toyota and Joe Gibbs, he's going to do it with somebody.
I don't understand why, like, Toyota and Chip Ganassi haven't struck up a deal or something like that.
I don't know.
I feel like that could be a nice little marriage over there.
I think so. Can you imagine Chip Ganassi with Toyota cars?
Yeah, and if you got Larson, and Larson was a Toyota development driver. People forget that.
Right.
Like he was on the comeuppance and they let him go.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff going on with this one. This is a good one to keep an eye on. This is not a replacement for Furniture Row though.
No.
This is, I mean,
it is not.
It keeps the Toyota seat in the field, but
right.
It's definitely not a replacement. It's, not even a lateral move.
Right.
Really. It's just it could get there though. But it's 3 or 4 years away.
So quick question, go on a tangent. Might as well because we're already long. Christopher Bell, are they making a mistake keeping him in Xfinity one more year?
Yes.
I agree.
Yes.
I agree.
There's nothing left for him to do, Eric.
Normally, I would say give him another year. Another year is only going to help him. We've been through Joey Logano. We've been through, even William Byron.
Byron to an extent,
who else? Daniel Suarez.
Suarez was another one. He was kind of a late bloomer.
Kevin Harvick, which was circumstances, but we've seen this happen time and time again. There is no reason at all for Christopher Bell to run another season in the Xfinity Series.
Yep.
Tony Stewart, a waste of his career.
Yeah. Tony Stewart's your example here too, because Tony Stewart did a ton of built a great resume, ran not even considered a full season of Xfinity.
Right.
And went to Joe Gibbs Racing and boom, 3 wins.
Yep.
Right there. There's nothing left for him to prove at that point. I mean, he wasn't really winning in the Xfinity Series, but he, like I said, he already had the IRL resume. He was ready. He just needed a little more seat time. Christopher Bell doesn't need any more seat time.
Another year in the Xfinity Series is not going to teach him anything.
Nope.
If anything, it's going to make it more frustrating when he comes to the Cup and doesn't win.
Yeah.
Because he's going to be so used to winning.
He needs to be in a car
can't imagine
now.
that kid not winning the championship this year.
James Racing has to be just.
The only thing is he does have to battle with Justin Allgaier to win that championship. So
yeah, and that's fine, and that's the one thing that he has yet to gain.
Right.
And if he doesn't win the championship, it doesn't really matter.
No, he doesn't.
He's got the ability to do it. It's just that's just
the only reason the championship matters is if you're maybe going to end up staying in the Xfinity Series, and it's good to have that on your resume. This kid is not staying in the Xfinity Series.
Yeah, and he's just a championship for him doesn't mean what it would mean for Elliott Sadler.
No.
That's or just an Allgaier.
Exactly.
He's just there, he's just there to get to the next level, and he's ready.
Yep.
It's crazy that he's got to stay, but if you're Joe Gibbs, you've got nowhere to put him.
Right. Yeah.
Unless you're going to kick Denny Hamlin out.
It's the only reason he's there, but yeah.
And if you were to ever kick Denny Hamlin out, there's a contract, and you're going to have to pay him.
So here's
Denny Hamlin's making top dollar because he's probably on the old system still.
Here's another question: you choose between Truex and Bell.
Oh, if it was me?
Yeah.
Not very popular opinion. I wouldn't take Truex.
I wouldn't either. I wouldn't either. I mean,
I know
Truex is last year's champion, but I'm sorry, you've got future with Christopher. Unless there's a plan in the pipeline.
But you've also got to remember, like, Bass Pro Shops is going to come over and other sponsors that
I suppose
are going.
I don't know, man.
They're gonna say, well, do we want to be with the champion? If you're spending that kind of money, well, do we want to be with the champion or this young, unproven, air quotes, unproven rookie?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's where the sponsorship dollars come into play. But yeah, if it was
I feel like there's no way I would go with Truex, a guy that's on the tail end of his career.
And then if you're if this was another sport or something, you'd obviously it'd be easy.
Right.
NASCAR's a little bit different.
The only way I go with Truex over Bell is if there's already a plan in place for the future.
Yeah.
If there's already a plan in place for what we're doing, who's going. I mean, Denny Hamlin could have a contract for 60 years. It doesn't mean he's going to race for 60 years.
And you said this earlier. Toyota wants more teams in the Cup Series,
Right.
and if that whole Kyle Busch thing really is something that's out on the table
Oh my God.
for a couple.
Oh my God.
I'm
right.
just saying, if that's really a possibility, and that seat
Is
opens
it that
up,
late? Are you losing it, James?
I think I think that rumor is realistic.
I don't think it is. No way.
I do too.
No way.
I don't think it's next year, but
Nah.
I think maybe the year after. I think 2020, Kyle Busch owning his own Cup team is a realistic thing.
Nah. Nope.
I can't wait for it to happen.
I think there's a better chance that Dale Jr. brings Junior Motorsports to Cup than Kyle Busch brings KBM. And I don't think will happen. So it ain't happening.
I don't know, man.
Nope. If you're Kyle Busch, why do you do that? Why? What's the point?
Future retirement?
He doesn't need he's done now. He could quit now and have enough money.
By that time, he'll have 200 wins. He doesn't really have anything left to prove as a driver.
He doesn't need it.
We've had this argument before.
Doesn't need it.
Why would Tony Stewart leave Joe Gibbs Racing? It's the same thing.
Nah. It's different.
Tony was a little different though. He was gifted a sizable portion of a race team,
Right.
but still.
And a blank check. All right. I think that's all the silly season. I mean, it's getting pretty freaking silly. So let's move on.
It's late.
So this weekend we go to Talladega Superspeedway for the 1000 Bulbs 500. About the most annoying race name of the season, other than Big Machine Vodka 400 at Brickyard.
My favorite was always Your Name Here.
Yeah.
400.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting race. It is our last restrictor plate race at Talladega Superspeedway this weekend.
Yeah. Yep.
So be pretty interesting to see. And Talladega in the playoffs. I mean, Talladega's Talladega. It's great anyway. But it's in the playoffs, so it's even better. Only thing to make it better is if it was a cutoff race, but it's still going to be pretty darn great where it is. So, James, you get the first pick. It's all you, man.
Well, I usually would pick Brad Keselowski. That's
Okay.
been my staple at Talladega ever since we started this podcast.
All right, good. You picked Brad. You're done. No, I'm just kidding.
But I didn't. I'm not picking him this time. I'm going to go a little bit on a limb. I'm going to take Ryan Blaney.
Ryan Blaney.
Ryan Blaney is my pick, not my dark horse. He is my pick.
Huh. Okay. Let me.
That leaves you a nice wide open field.
Yeah, I'm gonna do because it's not a mile and a half track. I'm just going Kyle Busch.
I like that.
Yeah, he's got one win at Talladega. His average finish isn't great. Pretty much wrecks or wins, and generally wrecks. But I'm gonna go Kyle Busch on this weekend.
And they are very similar on the average finish chart, each at 20.5.
There you go. And now my dark horse, I'm gonna go completely against something I said earlier, and I am going to go with Mr. Alex Bowman.
Oh,
In the 88 car as my dark horse this weekend. I think Bowman's got nothing to lose. He's going to go out there and try and run it hard. He's driving the 88 car. Hendrick, I mean, as long as he can keep it up front.
Yep.
Junior was saying on his podcast, what you got to do is keep it up front. Don't be running in the
up front.
back. So
Nobody knows better than Dale Jr.
there you go. So I'm going Alex Bowman. He's gonna channel Dale Jr. and he's gonna win this weekend and move on to the next round of the playoffs. And screw everything up in the playoffs.
That would be pretty cool.
That's what I want. That's what I want to happen.
You want chaos.
I do.
Just like the March Madness.
I do.
You want
That's
chaos.
So one of my favorite shows all year long. I'm not a giant reality TV person. I watch a little bit of reality TV. I watch Survivor, but my favorite one, and it has been since 2000 when it premiered, is Big Brother. And what I like about Big Brother is there hits a certain point where everybody just hates each other. And you just get to watch the chaos. And I don't watch the show to cheer for somebody to win. I cheer for that moment in the show where everybody hates each other and everything just goes nuts. So that's the way I like it, man.
Oh, good.
All
I'm
right.
going to know where you stand.
Who's your dark horse, James?
I'm going to pick one of the Dillon boys.
All right. Which
not
one are you
Austin.
going with? Yeah, I
I'm
was
going with
wondering.
Ty Dillon.
Nice.
Yeah, he's not. I mean, he's got a good average finish, but he's only got a small sample size. There's a lot of guys you could take for a dark horse, but
Yeah.
I figured-
Anybody in the field?
yeah. Bubba Wallace, I thought would have been a good one. Shoot, even somebody like David Reagan. I don't know if he qualifies at Talladega though.
How's Spinhouse do this weekend? He's got nothing to prove. He doesn't. He
He
doesn't.
could freaking win though. Yeah.
That's the thing. I feel like he's gonna be right up front because he's not going to have to drive over his head.
Yeah,
because it doesn't matter if he wins.
He is a pretty good restrictor plate racer, man.
Yeah,
he really is.
Yeah, I think Spinhouse will be right up front. Speaking of which, best average finish, Talladega.
Right now,
11.4, 10 races,
you know what,
one win.
He's had 10 races and he's had 6 top 10s. That's pretty stout.
That's really good.
Even Brad Keselowski doesn't really have that kind of. I mean, Brad's got the.
How is Ty Dillon a dark horse? He's number 2 on the list, James.
That's what I'm saying. He's got no wins and no top 10s though.
Dang it! How the heck is he number 2?
He just must get 13th every time.
No kidding. Well, he's only got 3 races there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a small sample size. Chase Elliott's a good pick here too.
Yeah.
Another small sample size, but Keselowski, man, 19. I mean, just give you guys I always do this. He has 19 Talladega starts, 5 wins, 7 top 5s, 11 top 10s. He's led 240 laps.
Yeah, and you can't go by average finish here either because average finish doesn't mean crap. You really need to go wins.
It's like the movie Talladega Nights, first or last.
Yeah.
Same thing.
And Brad's the guy. Brad's the guy here. So
he won. I think I brought this up on the podcast before too, but I'm gonna do it again anyway. When he won that 2014 elimination race in the Red Apple Ale car, one of the great drives. It's like top 3 for me, most impressive races I've ever watched.
Yeah,
he had to win. That was it. He was eliminated. He had to win Talladega.
Right.
The dude freaking did it, and he did it in a spectacular fashion.
That's why I like Talladega as an elimination race.
It was
I know
a good
the drivers don't like it, but I want it as an elimination race.
Yeah, it was good. That was go on YouTube and just look that one up. 2014, Brad Keselowski.
There's nothing better for an elimination race than a race that you don't know who's going to win until the last 100 feet.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
what I'm saying.
Good stuff.
I know, and everybody's everybody was freaking out, and that was the race that it wasn't the championship with Brad for me. It was that race. I'm like, dude, this guy's one of the best.
Yeah.
Brad's one of those guys who never gets the credit, I don't think. But man, that race, oh God, that race is one of my favorite races ever. I remember it like it was yesterday.
I got a hockey game Sunday. I can't watch the race live. It's a bummer because I love watching Dega live. But I'll be watching it when I get home. So don't be spoiling it on me, James.
I won't text you during this one.
You don't text me at all on race day anymore.
No,
at all.
Except for the Roval. I did text you during the Roval.
Yeah.
But I knew you were watching the Roval, so.
Right.
We can't never text.
I do have a shout out this week. I know James wanted to do it as well. Big, giant congratulations to Jeff and Sarah Gluck. Jeff Gluck, obviously NASCAR reporter. They had a baby today.
Yep.
Yes, today.
Yep.
It was.
Today.
So congrats to them.
Short hours ago.
Yeah, very, very cool. Welcome to the Dad Club, Jeff. It'll be a good time. So
yes.
Junior had some talk about his daughter on his podcast this week too. It was pretty cute. So good deal for them. I know it works out good for Jeff because I know he was struggling with when to travel to the track and whatnot, and so he didn't go to Dover. The Roval was his last race because he was concerned.
It's a great call too, by the way.
Exactly.
Because that baby came a couple weeks early.
Yeah, right. I mean,
nice work by Jeff. He knew.
See, everybody was telling him that Dover was a bad idea. Yep. So good for him. You know, that stuff always comes first. So very cool.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. It's one of the great things ever.
Yep.
It's and we should have known because he was radio silent all day today.
Right.
I feel like, and once I saw the Instagram post of I think her name's Liana, right?
Yeah, I think so. Liana or Liliana?
Liliana. Yeah, you're right, Liliana. And once I saw the Instagram post, I went, oh, geez, that makes sense because he hasn't said a word on Twitter all day today.
Right, and even with the Jimmie Johnson news.
You know, with all the crap that we were talking about, and we didn't even mention it's Dale Jr.'s birthday.
Yeah,
so
it is Dale Jr.'s birthday.
So we've got Jeff Gluck's baby born on Dale Jr.'s birthday.
That's
so
funny.
Perfect.
You know, it is perfect because
Fokker said on
Junior's got a lot of respect for Jeff.
Yeah, he likes Jeff, and Pockrass even said he's going to have a lot of fun making fun of Jeff about this one.
That's great.
So that's good.
Good stuff.
But yeah, being a dad of a daughter myself, you're in for a world of excitement, and there's a lot of fear. I have a lot of fear. Not so much for right now, but like for what the future the future holds. Because I grew up as a little boy, and I know what little boys are capable of.
Right, and I have 2 little boys, and
they're dangerous. They're all dangerous.
But they're so much easier. I mean, I don't know. I don't have a girl, but the boys are pretty easy.
Yeah, well, she's pretty easy right now. I'm just worried about like 13 till the rest of my life.
Right. Oh, it'll be fun.
Yeah.
All right,
Great.
James, where can people find you during the week if they want to find you on social media?
At James Cush on Twitter.
You can find me at TSuperspeedway on Twitter. You can find the podcast on Facebook at facebook.com/thesuperspeedway. Find our website at thesuperspeedway.com. Check it out. We have all kinds. Have the podcasts up there, show notes, stories that we wrote from over the season, other stuff. Maybe one of these days we'll actually put more up there, but it's crazy busy, guys. I'm sorry. You can find the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, and SoundCloud. If you like what you hear, you want to become a part of the show, contribute to the show, become a patron at www.patreon.com/thesuperspeedway. Anything else, James? Or we finally done with this deal?
We newsed it up today. I'm good.
There we go. We get to talk about Talladega next weekend, which is always a good time. Who knows what kind of craziness. It's been such a crazy second half of the season that Talladega it's either going to be nuts or it's going to just be a snoozer. So we'll see what Talladega is really a snoozer. It's going to be good.
Yeah, it's going to be nuts.
I'm excited.
Yeah, me too.
So Talladega this weekend. We'll be back next weekend to talk about it and talk about the last race before the end of the second round of the playoffs. Until then, everybody, let's go racing.